get it over with. Huh? Get on with it. What's up? Everybody good? You guys ready? It's pretty loud there. Quickly on Iowa, going back looking at that. Defensive side, you guys, of course, we saw it all. You know, we didn't do a good job of getting defensive stops. I don't think we made a punt to the fourth quarter. Just staying on blocks, not getting off, tackling poorly, missing some tackles, them running through us, beat us in some man coverage. We played soft. They worked us on hitches. It was a really good play one time. Mike Hunter plays a guy man-to-man, makes a good breakup. They come back the next play, they make the play on us. So you see a guy that can, he just doesn't do it consistently back-to-back and in that matchup area. But third down, getting off the field, we had some third down opportunities where we get the stops, red zone, causing them guys to maybe kick some field goals like we do on offense instead of getting in the end zone. And we didn't create turnovers. Thought Replogle and Kenny Mullen both played really well, but those are the only two. But Kenny is a young guy, playing corner, but playing a little bit of our nickel spot a little bit. Did a nice job, had some pressures with blitz. He's gaining on it, doing a good job kicking game. Offensively, it was a little bit better to some degree. Had some balance. Red zone offense is still a concern. You can go back to Illinois where defense created some good field position. We didn't score. I think we start the third quarter with two very, very long drives, but we get 3 points. And we don't really make a big deal about total yardage and rushing yardage and all that, passing and all that. You want to get points. And in this day and age, you've got to score some points. And, you know, we've got to work it where we can get in the end zone a lot more than we're doing. So that's a concern. We had 0 turnovers. That's the first time since the opening game. So that was a plus. But, again, we got to score points. Thought Trey, Stephen Houston, Kofi Hughes, Cody Latimer played well at skill positions. Max Dedman had his best game. We recognize Max as one of the players of the game. I thought the young offensive linemen are getting better. And I actually think Justin Pagan's kind of settling and playing solid for us down the stretch. Kicking, kick cover, it wasn't particularly well, but let him pop some out. In returns, we had three penalties on returns where we just grabbed a guy and pulled him down as we were getting beat. And kind of with that being said, started with some long fields. I think we had, you know, some more penalties than we'd had. But I would credit our guys, at least some, for the most part, it was maybe sloppy play, but it was effort play. So it wasn't like, you know, just foolishly jumping off sides or cheap shots, but getting our hands outside or torquing and turning a guy. We got to be better than that moving forward. And then, of course, Northwestern coming up, homecoming here, back at home. You know, they struggled a little bit by record, but offensively they've been very, very impressive. Last week put the most yards anyone on Penn State. Has to date. That was up big. They were up big on Illinois. They played a good run of some good teams at Iowa and whatnot. So they played some good teams. Michigan in a row, 4 good teams. But at the same time, and I think those 4 teams have, you know, 1 loss or no losses in our league. I guess Illinois just went to 2 losses, but they played some good football teams early, and they played well offensively. Again, talented with the, you know, their one quarterback might be of issue, but got a lot of respect for Mr. Persa. What he's fighting through his background, but the Coulter kid comes in, they don't miss a beat. Hebert, their wide receiver, is awesome. So again, very good on offense, and defensively have been battling, you know, kind of like us, but probably a little bit farther along, playing better defense than we are. So, but a challenge for homecoming. Be nice to see if we can move and start getting a win, but it'll be a tough challenge with those guys. That's what you got.
You want to win every game, and are working towards that. But after being eliminated from bowl competition, is in a way has 2012 started already?
Well, I mean, we've every day or every week, I think we're trying to give our seniors and our guys, we want to win each game. And what do we think plan-wise, schematically, or game plan or practice, what gives us a chance for Saturday. But also, I mean, we're looking like, especially with all the young guys, and even guys that aren't playing, what are we doing? For example, everyone that's not playing, you know, gets a lift on Friday, you know, instead of coming to a special team meeting for player development. We got daily, we got after practice, a boatload of guys getting the extra shakes you do for weight gaining and stuff. So you're always building forward. And we, except for the seniors leaving, we are reasonably young at a lot of spots, so you want to make some strides. But same time, we've not by any means said, hey, we're looking for 2012 or committing everything there, as much as we need to win this week. And that's been the motto each week moving forward, and what's been our plan. We hadn't executed the plan or played up to snuff to get it done. But that'll be the plan this week is foremost and first, and in fairness to seniors, is we need to win at Northwestern, we need to win at home, we need to win homecoming. And that's what we're going to make a commitment to and see if we can play good enough to get it done. You know, he was just very physical. You know, I thought one of the best plays is third down. The game's kind of in balance. You know, it's kind of out of balance and they're kind of up, but man, really extends on a third down where he's tackled a yard or two short and really dives and extend, sell out and move the chains and get a first down for us. And that was a great effort play. Had a couple very physical blocks. Kind of played he and Ted kind of splitting time a little bit more, kind of back and forth. And, I've been working with those guys, but during the game sometimes I get a little bit like, hey, what's going on O and D? So I had those guys every 3, 4, 5 plays just kind of subbing themselves to, Ted to stay fresh, but to get Max in the flow. And I think Max probably just got in some rhythm and played well. Had a couple very physical point of attack blocks that were some of the more impressive blocks of the game and of the year. So just appreciate his effort. He's a great kid, and kind of nice to see him come through and play a good, solid game for us. And it's probably an honor more of effort than anything else because he played with some great effort, which was great to see. Okay. Well, again, each game he's gotten in, he's very calm and he's done a nice job communicating, with what's going on. Does a great job on the sideline as well. I think the more he's played, the more comfortable he's gotten in practice of trying to step up and be a little bit more vocal and having more energy as we go. And he has really practiced pretty well the last couple of weeks. I think the more he's played, the more confidence he has in himself has kind of taken off a little bit. Again, early in the year, rotating guys through. It's maybe just kind of hard to see some separation with guys. But I thought as we went through last week's practice, we knew Tuesday after practice that he was probably going to be our starter. He was just practicing better and carried it through. And same time, be nice to see how Ed, Dusty's still out with the ankle injury, but it'd be nice to see how Ed and Dusty to respond. Sometimes competition is a great thing if a player embraces it. So, and I keep telling our guys all the time, if you don't like your situation, you need to change it. If you don't like the outcome of the games, change it. If you don't like your role, change it. If you don't like what's happening offensive, defensive, you need to change it with your effort and attitude and performance. So, I think Trey's doing well, but I'm also kind of curious to see how those other guys respond and do they want to fight the challenge. And competition's a great thing, but competition's a two-way street. It takes more than one. So it'd be nice to see if some guys want to compete and move forward there.
Did you say the guys a true freshman on how you want him to work and it'll be film studies at that position than maybe a guy that's been in the program a couple of years?
I don't know. Again, we're limited on what we can mandate. With film study, I keep saying all the time. There was a great quote last week where Russell Wilson said in the summer he spent 10 to 12 hours every day watching tape. But now you can't make that mandatory. Kids got to choose to do that. And but again, I think a lot of times as a program and as a team, you choose to win, choose to lose. There's a lot of choices you make, and you kind of you reap the reward sometimes, and it's not always physical. What your return coming back in. So. Again, same time, we've been pretty positive with the guys on what to do. But, again, you got class commitment, study times, all that deal. But I do think to be a good player, if you want to get a 4.0 on Saturday, there's not a lot of 4.0s at IU that just go to class and take tests to make 4.0s. You work at it as a student. And I think if you want to be a 4.0 football player, you got to put some time in. And but that's up to each kid. No, because we can't dismiss guys because, with that deal. We've got a boatload of what we think are pretty simple, clean team rules, whether it be curfews, social media, Twitter, Facebook, your comments and how they regard their quote sources that we have around here. And, we kind of try to keep a monitor on things like that. So just, we have guidelines of going to class. And if you don't, there's a little price you pay going to study hall, being on time, signing in, signing out. Being on time for weight room. So, there's a boatload of things we have to do. And, we're trying to run a reason. I think for us to build a winning program, we need to kind of do it the right way. I was very respectful as I watch some other teams across the country, and I see some players in top programs that are suspended for key games. And that's, to me, a coach just saying, hey, it's about the team, and you can't be selfish in what you're doing. So as we're building forward, we're just trying to get our team to buy into the value of what I think is doing things right. I believe kids that will go to class and do things right off the field will do things right on the field. I think it's a two-way street. There's a lot of great pro teams that have won Super Bowls where everyone in the locker room was a college graduate because they want good kids that go to work and show up and all that kind of stuff. So we're just trying to drive that home with our guys, and I haven't relented on it. If you miss something, there's a price you pay for it. And whether some guys didn't want to pay that price, you'd have to ask those guys because, I don't know why each guy isn't with us other than we just have what I think is a pretty common approach to this. I don't think it's unusual. I think it's what most guys do, but I don't back down. And I don't care if you're the starter. I mean, if you go back and read some of the quotes that guys have said to you, I've heard seniors say, I can't believe he's going to play a freshman. That right there says a lot. I thought I was going to be the starter. That says a lot. There's no entitlement here. You earn respect, you earn your job, and you earn victories. And you earn building a good program. That's what we're trying to do. So there's nothing more than that to it, really.
So just to clarify that, I guess you could have read that statement last night and kind of drawn a line to say that there were guys about this program maybe because they had drug issues or because they had academic issues. Basically, you're saying that that's not the case, but
each one I think is probably different. I don't know. And some guys just said they didn't want to play. And my comment when a guy doesn't want to play is I think each kid needs to do what's best for him. Because if it's good for him, it's good for the team. That was an exact conversation with several kids. If it's good for you to be here, it's good for our team. If it's not good for you to be here, that's good for our team too. So, I mean, it's, we don't, we've not opened the door and said, see ya, as much as there's just guidelines, things that we're not going to get away from. And then each guy's kind of had his issue with what he's wanted to do. I can't comment about drug testing other than we have a drug testing policy. So have guys, is there problems? I don't know. I mean, you can read into what you want to, but you're reading into it. And we spend way too much time talking about guys that aren't here versus Peyton Eckert and Bernard Taylor that have been starting against Big Ten teams as freshmen that are battling. It's pretty good. Or Bobby Richardson out there battling, or Kenny Mullen going from corner to nickel, or Mark Murphy going. So, there's a lot of guys out there fighting well. But there's no issues as much as we're going to build a disciplined program, and in doing so, I think some guys have struggled with that with me because I haven't backed away from it, and it's not been personal. It's been very, very consistent, and I think that's if you'd ask our guys, I think we're pretty consistent. We hold the best players to the highest standards. We don't cut any slack. Just because you're a starter doesn't mean if you're a starter, you have to actually do it better because everybody watches you, and because players are running the team. And that being said, if a guy isn't doing well, maybe he hadn't played as much. Whether that be academically, socially, practice field, weight room, going to dining hall, whatever. If a guy is not doing things properly, we kind of take the air out of his football. Because if he's not doing it properly off the field, he's not going to do it properly for us on the field. I don't think there's problems, but we've been pretty regimented and being pretty consistent and try to do things as best we can. We work with guys that make mistakes too because we all make mistakes. We make them every day, every person in our program, and I make the most of anybody. So, we're not sitting here throwing stones. So the guy that makes more issues and makes more glitches each day is me as we keep learning moving forward. Our staff the same way. We're all in it together. But we're trying to be real consistent, not hardcore, not old school. There's just a right way. There's reasons why certain teams are pretty good, and they're consistently pretty good. And it's not always talent. That's why I keep saying I go back to Oklahoma and some of the success. It was consistent hard. I mean, we had great players that didn't go to class, and they didn't play. They were great players. They were first-round draft picks, and they set out games. That being said, then they started going to class. And as they went to class, that lifted everybody up. So, great players practice hard. Great players do things right. And that's what we're trying to build. And we've been pretty set on that from the get-go. That was addressed in the very, very first meeting. Whoever the best player is in this room, he is held to the highest standard, on and off the field. So it's pretty cut and dry. No, I don't know that as much as maybe if you're playing a freshman, does that change? Maybe you will, if you know that early, do you want to blitz him more, or change up some things? And maybe, there is maybe subtle tendencies on certain plays he has or hasn't done, although the last 3 weeks he's kind of had the whole game plan, so it's not been a separate deal. But, again, it's not like, there's the NFL and all the point spreads that we got to go through to announce. I mean, most colleges don't announce, who starts and who doesn't. And, we've started a boatload of guys, and I promise you, we might could mess up, but typically 11 guys are going to go out there, and we might have one time with 10, but, we're going to have 11 on O and 11 on D. And I don't know, sometimes the guys that are starting, like if you want to announce a starter, sometimes, like who's a starter? Well, if we start with 2 tight ends, then one of the receivers ain't the starter of that game. He's really the starter, third receiver. We've had some 2 tailback sets. If we're in the I formation, you have a starting fullback. Is he the starter? If their first play is in spread, we have a nickelback that starts. If they're in the I formation, we have a linebacker that starts. So we got about 14, 15 starters on both sides of the ball, I think. So I don't know if it's that big a deal. But Trey's deal, Again, freshman guy, maybe that's not to put much on him. I think the team knew. We didn't make an announcement to the team. I mean, he got first team from Tuesday on, so, I mean, everybody kind of knew he was probably going. We didn't know how he'd react when he got out there. He handled it reasonably well, but he also got a better supporting play. Line play was reasonably better. Tight end was okay. Running back, Stevens getting better as he plays, complement with the other guys. Receivers played a lot harder, blocked better, had more energy, ran faster in routes. I mean, so it wasn't by any means a great offensive performance, but Trey was not the Lone Ranger. He had a little bit better help, and that made him look good, or helped him look good. Maybe. I mean, they're both defenses are reasonably similar in structure and how they lined up. Coach Hankiewicz, much like Coach Parker, been around a long time, has a very simple, strong way that he approaches defensive play. At the same time, Iowa, other than just bringing a one-guy blitz off the edge one side, they kind of line up, and I mean, they lined up like that in 2000. I mean, that's kind of how they line up and play their deal. And we just, again, started with some long fields after a couple penalties on kick returns, got to some third and longs, didn't manage it, and got off the field. It was disappointing. I think at the 3-minute mark, they're working a drive. It's 21-14. We got a chance to make a pick that we don't. They score for a minute and 30-something, and then they score with 16 seconds to make it 35-14. It's kind of, even though they're really playing good on offense, it's a reasonably competitive game that in a 4-minute mark, just boom. And that's a couple weeks in a row. That happened. It happened at Virginia right before the half with a fumble that gave away some points. So we've imploded in the last 3 or 4, 5 minutes of the first half in a few games, where even when we're behind, we've thrown away 7 or 10 points and made our task even harder coming out of the third quarter. Don't know why. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes those guys can watch some things on their own. We give them DVDs, so I don't know. And it's, I mean, to me, you never watch enough, and they're not watching enough now, but at the same time, I don't know. He's up there a little bit more, but sometimes maybe that's just his class schedule, where guys are. We're a little disjointed on this end of camp as far away, so before, after practice, those guys get in. We don't sit there. It's not like we got like a little clock and we punch in who's in and out. But you do always like, quarterbacks to be a part of your meetings when you're game planning. I mean, one of my simple questions all the time, hey, third and long, I like this one or this one. Which one do you like? And if he says the second one, well, odds are he's going to throw that one better than the first one, because for whatever reason, mentally, he likes that one. And so, I mean, it's nice to have great quarterback feedback in your game plan. And he's up there a little bit. But right now, again, with class schedules, we're a little, we get our hours that we get, and we work that pretty good, and he gets a little more. But I know those other guys are working too. I'm sure they better be. Yeah, didn't practice last week hardly at all. He's trying to go this week. We'll evaluate as you go through the week with him. And just, he's got that knee's just been a little ginger with it. So last week, he tried to go Monday and really couldn't go much and didn't end up practicing at all last week. He did a little bit yesterday. So I guess we'll get a better gauge here the next couple of days when he practices. Can he handle the workload? But the other guys have kind of came on and did pretty good. So I don't know if we're, Jamon made a big play over the top. Luis is capable. Cody, Shane, Kofi, all those guys are doing well. So I kind of like, the other group's doing okay. So I don't know if that's as big a loss as it is maybe on paper as it is on the field. I think the other guys are stepping up okay. I think the more those young guys are playing, the better they're doing. Hadn't practiced yet, so be interested. He did try to do it. When I say that, he's tried to do a few things, a little ginger. But again, I thought Colin came in and played very, very well. Matter of fact, I thought he played as well, if not better than Matt. No disrespect. I thought, and didn't surprise. He's naturally a center. We'd moved him to guard because we thought he was one of the best 5. He went back over, handled it well. And I think you got a chance to get a similar lineup, and if Will's there, that just gives us more depth and a veteran, and that'd be great to have. But I think we'll probably, as we go in today, assume, bad word, that is kind of as is, and we'll see how Will goes through the week. Wouldn't want to push him with a couple games left, because coming back, kind of like DeMarlo, if you come back too soon, you tweak it, and then it ends up being a lot longer. So it's a little bit more in pain tolerance and stability and what he can do.
You played a lot of freshmen. In general, have they progressed how you wanted to see them do this season?
Very much. I mean, But again, the more you play, the better you're getting. So, Bernard Taylor, for example, I mean, he played every snap against Iowa, every snap, against Wisconsin, 3 quarters against Penn State and Illinois. And the more he's played, he's not where you want yet, but he's gaining on it. Same with Peyton Eckerd. Colin, we just talked about, is doing well. The receivers, like to get D'Angelo back in the mix. We had him on some kickoff cover teams the other day to get him going a little. Again, Trey's situations played out where he's getting a chance. But all those guys, Kenny Mullen, starting to see him show up a little bit more. And those guys all make mistakes, and there's some growing pains with it. We lack some size with those guys, but they do have some energy, and they're competing. And I think they're getting where they realize the game isn't – I don't need to make the game as big as it is. That guy's just another guy like me, and let's go battle a little bit. And I think we're making some strides. Still a long way off, but that group's going. Same time, too, though, Max Dedman. Jeff Thomas had one didn't make a bunch of tackles, but where he was supposed to be. He played Adam Raplogle, one of our best games. We're getting some pretty good, some solid play out of those older guys that have been pretty steady for us down the stretch. I thought Andrew McDonald and Justin Pagan last couple weeks are starting to be a little bit more steady for us, and they're practicing better. And all of a sudden you see them doing things Saturday that I think they're gaining confidence, starting to trust our schemes and what we're teaching. So I see some of those old guys hanging in there, and I appreciate that. Well, again, I think we have continued to kind of recruit and look at guys in general, because nothing's until guys sign, and at the same time we do have some needs at other positions. So it'd be interesting to see as the season pans out. You got Adam Follett, you got Dusty, you got Ed, and you've got Trey, and all some of those guys being young enough. Do you need one? And because you're also comparing quarterback need versus other position needs. So sometimes at the end it's almost like recruiting's like drafting, next best available player. Now, let's don't take, a guy at a position just to take him, but if he's a better player than another position, his stock rises. So, we're looking at some D-line depth, D-ends. We're looking at linebacker. We're looking at DB, offensive. I mean, we're looking at a lot, whether it be junior college or high school. Junior college-wise, if we don't think a guy can come in and impact us, even though he's a year or two older, why take a junior college guy for 2 years versus a high school guy for 3 or 4 or 5? And we've shown we'll play some young high school guys. So I think we'd be attractive to a high school kid. And so that being said, I don't know if anyone has stock versus just best player. He's practicing. We're kind of protecting it moving forward here with it, and did practice in our work that we've already had. But it'd be interesting as we go through the week, how it compares to Northwestern. We'll do some things in their spread where you can get into a little bit more 5 or 6 defensive back looks. So that being said, you could play one of those other linebackers in there because, their lead formation is one quarterback and the tailback tight end in an empty set of the games that we've looked at. So, and they'll still do a little bit of big stuff, but they're a spread team that runs it well but puts a lot in passing. So we could play a fair amount of DBs, and if Jeff's up to speed, fine. If not, we might be kicking, a Hubler or Brandon McGee and playing with 5 or 6 DBs too, Dustin. Just shoulder separation. Slight gate, whatever those grades are.
It's been a while since you and your assistants had a season like this. In terms of just a frustration level of losing these games that you're not used to losing, what is the mood of the staff there?
Well, my deal is I'm trying to keep them pretty positive because if we're not, no one else is going to be. And so my gig each day is that we got to be the guys with the energy, the guys with the enthusiasm. We got to make sure that we keep finding good in what we're trying to do, and make sure I've tried very hard to make sure again. I try to have a couple things. Hey, just show them good plays. Don't say all the time, hey, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Make sure we're showing them, hey, this is good, this is good, this is good, so we can kind of build forward that way. So, I've been I don't want to say I've been the staff cheerleader, but I've been trying to make sure our guys maintain a positive attitude and don't overcoach. You got each day you're coaching forward, each day you're coaching. Are you getting better? At the end of the day, did we make any improvement? If we did, good day, keep making improvement and make sure we're putting a game plan that gives us a chance to win. So, but again, I think we've been, I hope so. You got some guys like Eckler and Kevin Johns, Greg Fry. Those are high motor, pretty positive guys in general. And so I think as we're moving, we're trying to be, and we better be. And again, and I don't necessarily look at things half empty or half full. I just look at it as it is. But I know this, it's not going to be better if we don't make it better mentally in our attitude as we approach it. You want your kids to have a great attitude. They can't have one if we don't. So again, if we've been like I made a comment to a couple guys, I've been about as positive as I can be with them because we've got to be. You know what I'm saying? And that being said, too, now again, we got some things to play for with homecoming, playing at home, Northwestern, 4 games remaining. So even though there's bowl situation, maybe not in advance, not talking 2012, we talked about what we got to play for short term. What's in front of us to give our seniors a chance to go out and keep building, the young guys building forward, but give the seniors a chance to go out as strong as they can, as good as they can, with as much energy and enthusiasm as we got. You guys good? All right, man. Have a good one.